Hey, it's Michael Douglas. Welcome back to another episode of Dr. Pundit, where we talk about music, not medicine. And I kind of came across this story online today quite honestly, an incident that I forgot happened, but I do vaguely recall this because I was in 5th grade at the time, and I really wasn't into this band as I kind of really had yet to really discover their catalog until I was probably in high school or so. But I'm talking about The Who, and particularly what happened to their fan base around the year 1980. Now, in 1979 was the storied fan massacre, as some people call it. In the hours before the concert, 11 patrons, concert-goers, were trampled to death before that concert started.
Police and rescue workers discovered the first bodies outside the Riverfront Coliseum doors, just as the concert by the British rock group The Who began performing on December 3rd, 1979.
When they opened the doors tonight, everybody just went crazy. There was a girl in front of me, she fell down, and people were stamping on top of her and everything, and I was trying to help her up, and they were just hitting everybody and just trying to kill to get into the concert.
I think if I was any further back in the crowd, I wouldn't have made it.
We're told that as many as 5 people, 5 deep, were laying on the ground.
11 people were trampled to death as more than 6,000 fans rushed to get inside.
Immediately, Cincinnati's new mayor and its council went to work on finding out what happened and why.
And while speaking with the Rolling Stone magazine in 1980, The Who's Pete Townshend attempted to explain the strange fanaticism surrounding the band that seemed to kick into overdrive after this unfortunate incident occurred in Cincinnati. Now, The Who was embarking on a worldwide tour, and at the time, and this incident in Cincinnati basically propelled the band to a whole new level of fame worldwide, which is kind of fascinating on one aspect, but a little bit morbid on another aspect. It unfortunately introduced a brand new generation to their music, if not just for the curiosity factor, of course. It created a disconnect also between the band and their fans, and what Townshend described as a gulf. In this gulf, fans thought they knew everything about The Who, while the band became increasingly separated from them. Now, both Roger Daltrey and Pete Townshend did release statements in the aftermath of the stage rush in Cincinnati, basically saying that the victims were just kids, and that it was a very unfortunate occurrence and a dark day in music concert history. The audience had become faceless, physically present, but also somehow invisible. Whoever was in the audience, they were the kids. It was as if there were an enormous gulf separating the band from its audience. Now, Pete Townshend did agree that there was kind of a gulf between The Who and its audience. When I think back to the days of the Marquee, the first night there were maybe 50 people, the next night 200, and after that we were packing it. We were a cult within a cult. Our whole audience was 19 years old, as we were. And there's this great feeling of affirmation when the audience knows that they're sharing in the success. They're making the success happen as well, so you become incredibly close. The 2,000 or 3,000 people who regularly attended the Marquee residency, I think I know them all by their first names. Pete Townshend explained that the gulf was mostly created by The Who's growth, but also by projects that surrounded them. Specifically, he named Tommy, the film, which had come out in 1975. Still, while Townshend felt that these things didn't have much to do with, quote, frontline rock and roll, they still color the way people viewed The Who. He continued, but there is also the fact that the band's history starts to accumulate. To be in existence for 15 years and still be working, still be appearing on stage. People can actually pay money and go see this band who have got not so much a powerful backlog of material behind them, but who actually got a history. What I found interesting is that Pete Townshend described that kind of getting into a really old author, old in age. Eventually you run out of books to read because they've been long dead, the author. And you get pissed off when you run out of stuff to read by this author. And he further said that this kind of thing happens when you're, quote unquote, quite young. He went on, what's a big kick for a lot of young kids who get into The Who is the discovery that there's so much to get into. We do exist now, we are putting out product, but there's a lot more they can find. As for the gulf, Townshend said that while it definitely exists, and this was in 1980, there are moments where fans attempt to cross it to bring themselves closer to The Who. So although there is a gulf, I think there is also a fascination in the fact that people might feel that gulf to start with, but also feel there's an opportunity by kind of an investigative listening and studying and reading books about the band or going to see the films. And there's a chance they can get closer. Again, Pete Townshend in a 1980 interview with Rolling Stone, which I find quite fascinating, if not for the time, but also kind of etching it back into the days where fandom was still reeling from the root word of fanatic, which is fan. Something that really got its start in Beatlemania about a decade and a half earlier and continued to ride the rest of the late 20th century until social media perhaps, where crowds are behaving a little bit differently, but throwing all their weight of information sharing and disinformation sharing nowadays online. I'm Michael Douglas, and if you like what you see here on the channel, please don't hesitate to like and subscribe. And as the late great Barry White always used to say, let the music play, and I'll see you on the next episode.